When we look at our countryside today, we are renowned for the many hedges that enclose the fields around Ireland. Hedges are one of the most important man-made structures in Ireland, as they contain not only a large part of our mammals and insects today, but are also vital avenues of travel for many species, both in the air and on the ground, and so are essential to our countryside survival. So when a field outside Celbridge was reduced from a meadow and forest down to a hedge, forest fragment and a small farm strip, Sonia Moore and the Celbridge Heritage and River Catchment Association took it upon themselves to preserve what was left of the ancient hedgerow and applied for funding to revitalise it and bring it back.
I had approached one of the councillors here, what am I going to do about this hedge? Let's go and get some funding. Okay, but we need somebody to lay a hedge. And I just looked up on the internet, and I've heard about the Hedge Laying Society or Association a long time ago, working in botanic gardens, so I would have come across their names. And I just emailed them, and that was that.
They would eventually be given funding from the local property tax through the Climate Innovation Fund. And with the Hedge Laying Association now on board, they began planning for work that would bring the hedge back to the diverse habitat it needed to be.
A project like this, where we are dealing with a hedge that has been neglected, really, is what has happened to it over the years. And the opportunity to restore it is very welcome. It's not something that crops up very often.
So basically what we want to do is we want to remove the elder, because it's not a good plant to have in a hedgerow. It grows up very quickly. It's the first thing to come into leaf in the spring. It shades out other plants, native plants in the hedgerow, and it's very short-lived. And this is one of the reasons why you get gaps in good hedgerows, is because elder's present and it dies very young, and nothing seems to fill the space. There is some evidence that the roots secrete an enzyme which keeps other roots away, so you have this sort of dead patch in the hedge. So we will be removing the elder.
Sticking up out of the top of this ivy here, you can see the remains of the thorn tree, and also down further some beautiful thorns in flower. We will be taking them right back down to be stumps, which is coppicing, and off the stumps, which will be about 3 inches tall off the bank, around that each stump you'll get wonderful new growth.
The idea is that what we're doing is we're not planting a farmland hedgerow where it's going to be, all thorns, and it's to be a barrier against stock. And what we're planting is a wildlife conservation hedge. So there'll be mixed species. There'll be backbone of it will be hawthorn, because it is a good, strong plant. It grows well in Ireland. It's a native plant.
So what's going to happen is that all of that will have to come out, except for the hawthorn. The hawthorn will have to cut back. So we're going to have a digger coming in to take everything out, rework the embankment. We have the Hedge Laying Society coming in. Association coming in for demonstrations, and then volunteers to plant the hedgerow.
Work finally began in December 2021. The first stage was to clear out the overgrown trees and other plants that were stopping the hedge from flourishing. Volunteers from the Leakslip Men's Shed and the Derrybeg Community Farm and their friends all pitched in with the hard work in a big community effort of the Leakslip Celbridge district. Part of the long-term planning was to have whips or young trees to plant, and these were dug into the soil to keep them alive, awaiting transplanting to the hedge bank when ready.
We got a present of the newly found Celbridge Biodiversity Group they got something like 1,000 trees for Celbridge, all for free, and they had these whips left over. So there's about not quite 400 of them in there. So we've got hawthorn, we have hazel, there's also birch, there's a few oaks, there's an alder. What did we say? What did you say? Four whips per metre, is it?
5 to 6 per metre.
Five to six.
So plant a double row, so 20 centimetres, one here, one here.
So the embankment would have to be at least a metre wide, 2 metres wide, because some of the embankment over there seems to be sometimes 3 metres wide, but that could have been when this was changed here, that they pushed a lot of soil over to the embankment there.
Why care about a hedge? 2 reasons really. One is, with the demise of forests in Ireland, animals and insects all graduated to our 689,000 kilometres of hedges, and their home is vital to the survival of our agricultural world. And secondly, in climate change, Teagasc have recognised that hedges potentially are a major tool in our armoury in this fight, because of their ability to sequester carbon around them.
Well, hedges are very important, but I think it's reasonable to say that they're often overlooked, certainly. Working in hedgerows, the aspects that are good for biodiversity will be good also for carbon. So it's really trying to hone in on how can we really optimise what we have actually, in fact.
Everything that used to live in our woods, because our woods have gone, pretty much everything is finding refuge in our hedgerows. We are very fortunate in this country that we have more of our field boundaries and hedgerows left than in many parts of Europe. But they do need to be maintained, they do need to be looked after.
And you know, our wildlife has sort of evolved around man's maintenance of woodlands and hedgerows. So to have a healthy hedge is to have a well-maintained hedge.
So the first stage of the work has begun with the clearance of plants and rebuilding of the bank. Next stage is the replanting of trees and bushes that will bring long life and shelter back to this ancient hedge.